So, dear friends, finally we come to the concluding part of my 5 module series on enterprise risk management and its importance for dairy industry. In the first 4 modules, we have looked at the concept of enterprise risk management, the differences between ERM and the traditional risk management methods, the statutory requirement of ERM as per the Companies Act 2013, the importance of ERM for dairy and foods industry, and various kinds of risks which the industry may be exposed to. We also saw in detail the process of implementation of ERM framework in an organization. Now, in the final module, let me introduce the concept of risk appetite and tolerance of an organization and various factors, internal as well as external, which impact the risk appetite of an organization. Basis which the risk matrix for all the risks which are identified is created, and a risk mitigation plan is chalked out. Friends, in this series, I have tried to summarize the whole concept of enterprise risk management and its importance for dairy and food industry. As I have said earlier also, although ERM is not statutorily mandatory for dairy industry so far, but it's high time the industry embraces it as a good management practice proactively. As India is moving ahead with the ambition of becoming a significantly large dairy exporter, the presence of ERM and good corporate governance practices will add to the credibility of the dairy industry in India in the eyes of international investors, community, and various countries. The need of the hour is to create a separate enterprise risk management department in the organization, and to start with, outsource the task of identification of various risks, assessment of their impact and probability of occurrence, creating risk registers and risk mitigation plans for all the risks, its implementation and monitoring of the whole process. Once the system gains maturity, the task can be ultimately taken over by the internal teams. I hope I've been able to do justice to the task which I had taken upon myself of creating awareness about the concept of enterprise risk management in dairy industry. If you have found the series useful, please do not forget to like it. And in case you have not so far subscribed to my channel, please do so by clicking at the subscribe button so that you continue to get notifications about my future offerings on ERM as well as related concepts. Thank you very much for viewing my series. Risk polarization and risk matrix. Risk polarization is basically rating of risk between two poles, extreme and minimal. Risks are polarized based on the probability of their occurrence and the severity of their impact on the organization. The probability is rated as unlikely, occasional, likely, and definite. Severity is rated as low, medium, high, and critical. These ratings are done based on the past experience and the judgment of all the stakeholders. While rating in terms of severity, we decide what is considered major or catastrophic versus what would be considered negligible. Same assessment is done when defining how to scale the likelihood of a risk occurring. Next, we assign a numerical value to each identified risk. Generally, risks are assigned on a scale from 1 through 5, with 1 being the least severe or frequent, and 5 being the most extreme. This will vary from industry to industry and even from organization to organization and should be tailored to our specific organizational needs. Based on these ratings, a risk assessment matrix is created. Risk assessment matrix is a straightforward, easy to read visual medium that provides insight into different risks an organization faces by categorizing them by their likelihood of occurrence and the severity of their impact. It is used to identify potential risks while considering both internal and external factors, present complex information in a simplified format to make it easier to assess issues and drive decision making, prioritize project actions and assist in strategic planning, provide the operating managers and stakeholders with a snapshot of factors with the potential to affect the organization and business outcome. This slide shows a 4x4 risk assessment matrix with rows depicting the likelihood of occurrence of a risk and the columns showing the impact. The likelihood is polarized between unlikely, that is, the event has not occurred and is not likely to occur; occasional, it has occurred earlier and may occur again; likely, with the possibility of occurring more than once; and definite, with the potential of occurring several times. Similarly, the impact is also polarized between low, medium, high, and critical. All the risks are then plotted in this matrix, and the overall score of a risk is a product of the likelihood score and impact score. For example, if a risk is likely to occur definitely with a critical impact, then the overall score will be 4 by 4, that is 16. And basis the overall score, the risk is then rated as extreme with scores between 12 to 16, high with scores between 8 to 11, medium with scores of 4 to 7, and low with scores 1 to 3. Risk appetite and risk tolerance. As per the ISO 31000, a risk management standard defines risk appetite as amount and type of risk that an organization is prepared to pursue, retain, or take. Risk appetite denotes the amount, rate, or percentage of risk an individual organization is willing to accept in return for its plan, objectives, and innovation. It is the borderline below which the management is ready to pursue or continue its stated goals. Risk appetite statement creates a set of guardrails for managers to operate within when making strategic decisions. Developing a risk statement in a given area ensures that decisions not only align with the company's strategy but also the organization's capacity to manage risk and opportunities. Every business or an individual has some aspirations, and to fulfill that strategic plans or objectives are foreseen. While applying these plans, and due to uncertainties involved, multiple risks are associated too. To avail of this stated objective, one has to do the cost benefit analysis and come to a point where the risk assumed is worth taking. Though the board of directors is responsible for shaping the decisions of the company, forming and preparing the risk appetite document is the primary responsibility of the management. Managers of the various domains in the entity do an exercise to understand the risk level and then pen it down and present it to the board for consideration. Then the board decides upon the given proposal whether it reflects the real picture of the risk or not and take a stand on it. The questions to be answered while deciding the risk appetite are: what could be the significant risk faced by the organization, the risk taking capabilities of the organization, providing ranks to the dangers based on rewards of offered, and doing qualitative analysis to arrive at the numbers. Risk appetite statement that are adaptable to changing business conditions enhance the organization's ability to create, preserve, and realize value. In the subsequent slides, we will discuss various factors which impact the risk appetite of a company. Well, the risk appetite depends on many factors, such as the size and complexity of the business, the market conditions, the industry standards, the regulatory requirements, the competitive landscape, the management style, and the culture of the organization. The factors could be divided into two parts. One is the internal factors and second is the external factors. Internal factor, when we talk about the internal factors, the history of risk taking plays a big role. An organization which has faced, handled, and mitigated a number of risks successfully will have higher risk appetite. However, failure to do so in the past will lower down the confidence, especially if the bad experience has been a recent one. As long as the potential impact of a risk has little or low risk to the long-term objective of the organization, the appetite towards that particular risk will be high. For example, if the long-term objective is to continue to provide a remunerative price to farmers on a regular basis, any event posing a risk to the financial capability of the organization to do so will be mitigated with strong measures by maintaining financial liquidity. The another factor, which is the stage of the organization in its life cycle, plays a very big role in the risk appetite. The various stages could be startup, growth, maturity, or declining stage. A younger organization may have more risk appetite than older ones because they have less experience and less baggage from the past. They may also have more energy and enthusiasm for innovation and growth. On the other hand, mature organizations may have more risk appetite than younger ones because they have learned from their mistakes and built up resilience and stability. They may also have more resources and expertise to cope with unexpected challenges and opportunities. However, mature organizations may also face some challenges in maintaining their risk appetite. Then, again, a startup company that is trying to create a new product or service that has no competitors or customers yet will have high risk appetite because it wants to try new things and experiment with different ideas. However, it may also face many challenges such as finding funding, hiring talented people, etc. Generally, in a mature industry, startup would have a low risk appetite because it is just starting out and has little experience or knowledge of the market. It may also face many challenges such as finding customers, raising capital, competing with other startups or the established players. The organization decline is defined as the reduction in the number of resources that are controlled by an organization. An organization experiencing decline in its growth would be placed on the risk appetite scale at the bottom. The financial stability also plays a role. If the organization is financially stable, if the fundamentals are strong, the risk appetite definitely will be higher because it has the capacity to withstand some losses or some impact on the top line of the organization. The risk capacity makes the amount of total risk the company can absorb without failing altogether also plays a big role and can affect the risk appetite of the organization. And finally, the management's willingness or the risk culture prevalent in the organization or the entrepreneur will also impact the risk appetite of an organization. The external factors affecting risk appetite maybe market maturity, competition or market share, public image or brand image, attitudes of stakeholders, and possibilities for innovation or technological breakthroughs. Companies in market which are mature will have higher appetite as the rules of games are well established and known to all the players. In a new or nascent market, people will be more cautious in taking risks. A company with high market share will be willing to take more operational and financial risk due to its capacity to withstand losses, but will have low appetite for reputational risk. A highly visible brand will be more prone to reputational risk and which has to be guarded very strongly. For example, Amul would guard its brand image very strongly and would not tolerate any kind of risk to its reputation or brand. Attitude of various stakeholders also mean a lot while deciding the risk appetite of an organization. For example, a government organization or PSU will be more conservative compared to a private company or an entrepreneur. The risk appetite of a company will also be guided by the expectations of its creditors, shareholders, and regulators. Risk appetite for a company or institute involved in R&D or innovations will be much higher because without taking risks and enterprising and experimenting multiple times, the possibility of success and breakthrough will be less. The attached video gives a very good narration about the risk appetite in an interesting manner. All business decisions involve some degree of risk, and knowing their risk tolerance level helps the management plan their entire action plan. Risk tolerance is the degree of risk that an organization is willing to endure given the volatility and uncertainty in the business environment. Market volatility and swings, economic or political events, and regulatory or interest rate changes affect an organization's tolerance for risk. While both risk appetite and risk tolerance set boundaries, risk appetite takes a big picture view of the general level of risks deemed acceptable, whereas the risk tolerance narrows the view to what is considered acceptable variations of risk around specific objectives. Risk tolerance basically allows an organization to establish parameters or criteria around a range of acceptable risks to the organization. The risk appetite and tolerance statement generally covers the following risks: reputational risks, regulatory and legal risks, strategic risks, operational risks, health and safety related risks, and financial risk. Sample risk appetite and tolerance statement is given in the subsequent slides. In the next 2-3 slides, a sample risk appetite and tolerance statement of a dairy cooperative is given. This statement is a result of the entire exercise of identification and classification of risks, their assessment and rating, development of their mitigation plan, and charting out the risk appetite and tolerance. The statement goes like this. Being a cooperative dairy organization, ABC Cooperative has the strategic objective of providing quality food and beverages to consumers at affordable price while ensuring remunerative price to the farmers. The risk appetite and tolerance of ABC is guided by the above objective. Safety drives all major decisions and actions in the organization, and it is ensured that all safety targets are met and improved year on year. Therefore, ABC has zero appetite for health and safety risk exposure that could result in injury or loss of life to consumers, employees, farmers, and public at large. Being a major player in the food industry, ABC has zero tolerance for regulatory and legal risks and ensures that it is 100% compliant on laws and regulations of the land within own premises as well as its third-party locations and takes immediate mitigation measures in case of any breaches. ABC has low appetite for financial risk as it is willing to accept some financial loss to sales and bottom line impact as long as the broader strategic objective mentioned above are met. ABC will tolerate low exposure to delivery of operational performance targets, including IT system reliability and capacity, and asset condition and utilization, disaster recovery, and localized supply disruptions. Having established itself in the industry over the past 4 decades as a responsible and progressive entity, ABC has low appetite for any reputational risks arising out of events like misleading branding, channel partner conflicts, potential frauds, and misrepresentation by employees, channel partners, or hackers, etc., as long as the impact is limited and localized. Lastly, ABC has low to medium appetite for strategic risks like excessive dependence on third parties, suboptimal planning, some strategic misalignment in a few areas, some non-strategic capital investments, as long as the overall strategic objectives are met. This means that organization will give priority to the attainment of its objectives over the risk as long as the impact is limited and local. This slide depicts the risk appetite and tolerance statement of ABC in a vectorial manner. All the risk categories have been plotted along with their risk appetite. Basis their risk appetite, they have also been prioritized like 0 to medium. All the risk where the appetite is 0 or low are clubbed as intolerable risk, meaning thereby ABC will not tolerate these risks and take strong mitigation plans against them. Whereas the risk with medium or high aptitude appetite, the risk will be classified as tolerable and there will be some tolerance to them. Mitigation plans will be put in place for any risk having rating beyond ABC's appetite in order to bring down the risk rating or its severity within tolerable limits.